All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, ringers and brothers in circus. This is Key. Welcome to my channel. Today I have, today is the A'miya Braxton story. With us I have A'miya Braxton. She is Amiya's mother, and we're going to. I want to give a little bit of light to this story because it hasn't been given the light that it deserves. I know that we're going through a lot of hideous times right now. That we're going through hard times, but this story needs to be heard because I just came across me the other day, and I found it. I found it to be kind of sad that to this day, justice has not been served to this young girl or her family. And like I said before in my previous video, being that it's from Mississippi, a small state, a lot of people are like, okay, it happened in Mississippi, so who cares? And no, we all care because this is how it is. We are 50 states, and we all in this together. So, without further ado, I have as a guest Andrea Braxton. She is the mother of Amia, and she will tell us the story, how it happened, what's going on. I will ask her a few questions that I already have written down of the case, how the case is going, and we go forward from there. Okay, Andrea, you got the mic.
Okay, so hello everybody. Good morning, good evening to wherever you are. My name is Andrea Braxton, and just like King Geo said, I am the mother of A'miya Braxton. On October the 4th, 2016, A'miya was exiting her school bus. It was stopped and it was letting her out in front of our driveway. She stepped down and she was waiting on her 10-year-old brother to get off at the time. And a car came around the side that she was standing off of in our driveway, hit, drug her a couple feet, and killed her on scene in front of
Wow,
my house.
that was in front of your house.
Yes.
So she when the lady swerved, quote unquote, she went. It's said here that she went into a ditch.
She jumped two ditches. So she was traveling so fast that she dropped two ditches and still hit and killed her. Yes.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
I mean that was, and then your daughter passed away instantly.
Yes, she did.
Well, my condolences for that.
Well, thank you.
Well, okay, so this happened in September of 2016, right?
No, October the 4th.
October the 4th, 2016.
Yes.
All right, and I have here that nothing was done until September of 2017.
Yes, that's when the first grand jury had met, and we were trying to get information. So, can we just talk a little bit about the process and how
Yes,
they
please.
treated us in Mississippi? So, after this happened, the sheriff. Now, mind you, that night at the hospital, I don't know if they were trying to give the family time to grieve. I don't know what they were trying to do, but nobody made contact with us that night. The district attorney's office didn't make contact with us that
Mhm,
night. The police
mhm.
department didn't make contact. Nobody from law enforcement made contact with us from the point that it happened until the next morning, until we went down to the sheriff department or the Pontotoc police department to find out what had happened. And so over the course of that year and a couple of months, we were calling the district attorney's office, trying to see if they had information, trying to get any leads, trying to see, how the case was being handled, try to see, if there was any concerns, any worries. We got absolutely nothing for the first year and something. We didn't even know who our district attorney was. The only way I found out who the assistant district attorney was is because I kept calling, calling, calling. And finally, they gave me the name of her, and her name is Sadie Gardner, and the office that she worked at. I made several attempts to contact her. She never called me back. Never called me back. They did not make any contact with us, and neither did they give me my victim's rights, which I'm entitled to. I didn't get that either.
Right.
They never treated me like I was a victim.
And no one. I mean, you need to tell me that no one from the police department, sheriff's department, whatever it is it's called in Mississippi, to the district attorney's office, never got in contact with any of you guys.
The night that initially happened, it did not. Now, the sheriff, who's the active sheriff right now, his name is Leo Mass. He was making contact off and on. The first time that he made contact was because He wanted to come out and let them know, to let us know that it should be an open and shut case, according to him. So he made contact, and he was real nice at first, and he was trying to be understanding, I guess you could say. But then he started telling us lies, and we called him up in a lie about some information, and so we called him out, and so we just found out that he was lying too. He was just leading us on, and that's the only contact that we had.
That so the liaison between you and whoever it was just sheriff and nobody else. No district attorney, no investigative detective, nobody.
Nobody.
Wow. So that's why it took. And what was the reason that it took them? What was the reason they gave you that it took close to a year for them to even investigate?
I'm still waiting on the answer.
Still waiting on that.
I'm still waiting on the answer.
And
I still don't know what took so long.
Is there an officer who's investigating, or officers who are investigating this case?
Well, there was the one who did the officer Chris Patterson is the one, and I hope I'm calling his name correctly. He investigated. Well, he did the police report. May I say it like that? But to this day, I do not know who the officers were. I don't know anything. I don't know who participated in the investigation, except for maybe two people. It was the sheriff, and then it was his right hand man. But I really can't say if they really investigated it or not, because it doesn't seem like there was any investigation.
And you don't have an attorney representing you in this case?
No, actually, we are still looking for an attorney. And the reason why, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you the reason why we're looking for an attorney. We're looking for an attorney because the district attorney of Pontotoc County and several other counties have really shut us out. And the only time that we made contact was after the first indictment, when they no-billed it. We threw a fit and we said, you're going to see us or there's going to be problem. And so finally we did get a meeting with him. And he basically let us know that he didn't care. He basically led the jury wrong. According to Nathan's Law, am I going too fast for you, or do I need to keep going?
No. You go perfect for me.
Okay. So there's a law. It's been passed in 13 other states, probably more now. And it says that you cannot pass a stop school bus. You cannot go within 10 feet. 10 feet. Okay. So, and if you do, you're automatically guilty. I mean, if you pass that barrier, you're automatically guilty. So the district attorney said that he felt like the grand jury struggled to find a decision based on the questions that they asked. So we have to consider the fact they asked you these questions, but what was your answer? Your answer was not in the best interest of the law, and neither did it provide a safe haven for me or my family. He kept saying that you have to prove intent, that we had to prove that, or he had a hard time proving that Karen Carpenter intended to kill A'miya. Well, we might not can prove that she intended to kill A'miya. Nobody ever said she woke up that morning and said, I'm finna go and kill A'miya Braxton today at 4:30. Nobody assumed that. However, we know for a fact that she broke the law when she went within the 10 feet of a stopped school bus. And so at this point, they misled the jury. And we also know that there was a phone call made. Okay.
Did he actually use the word that he didn't know? No, they had to prove that Karen Mitchell Carpenter had the intent to kill Maya?
Yes, he was saying that in order for them to get an indictment, that we had to prove that she meant to kill A'miya, and that's not what the law says.
I don't want to cut you off there. So, then that wouldn't go as far as that wouldn't be a manslaughter charge. That would be a murder charge. If you're telling me that the state has to prove that she had the intent to kill A'miya, or anyone for that matter, then that wouldn't even be manslaughter. That would be murder, because that's what murder is. Mm-hmm. Murder in the first degree means that you have the intent, or that you already planned out the plan to kill the person.
Mm-hmm.
That's what murder is. So I don't know. I don't know why he said that. I know the law is that what I read yesterday was that he had to have the intent to cause bodily harm. And what I have here is that he says that there's no proof that she was either texting or using the phone. That's what he said. There's no proof she was texting or using the phone, and that there's no proof of that. But as a common sense person would tell you, if you're driving if I'm driving behind you and you come to a full stop and I'm fully aware and I'm cognizant and I'm driving and you stop, I'm going to stop. Now, if you're driving and I'm looking at my phone or I'm looking down and I swerve, that means that I turned my head somewhere. But there was no reason for me to swerve. I would have just stopped right behind you. So even though he said that there's no proof that he was texting, you don't have to have proof. You have to use common sense. She swerved for a reason. Mm-hmm. And when he said that the law, I also read yesterday, the day before yesterday, he said that the law goes into interpretation. So that means that's his job to make sure that these people interpret the law the way he wants it to be interpreted. Because if he says the law interprets it that she has to have the intent that he wanted to kill her, now that he's just sabotaging the whole entire indictment.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And that's what they did. So let's back up a little bit and let's talk about what you said before, is about the murder part. Okay, so that's one reason why he knows, and he knew that they could not prove that she intentionally do it. So that's why he was saying that they couldn't get a murder charge. But on the police report, she stated in her own words, it's not fabricated. And the only reason we feel like they put that in the police report or let it slip is because we wasn't going to fight, because they're used to people not fighting them in Mississippi. They used to, if you kill somebody, that's just what it is. You know, they got the final say, but we are fighters, and I'm still fighting now. I'm fighting right now at 9:13, so I don't want them to misunderstand. This is not over by a long shot. I aim to fight. However, she put in the police report, she said that she looked down and may have fell asleep. She may have dozed off. So if anything, that makes her negligent by her own.
Exactly. There you go. That's what I wanted to know, because I was talking to this with my wife and I was telling her, you don't swerve unless either you're looking down, either you fall asleep or something happens, because if you're paying attention, you would stop.
Mm-hmm.
So something must happen. And now that you give me that story that he said, that the district attorney said that she had the intent to murder, to murder. So now so that means that he has no intentions whatsoever to take this any further, because he knows that a murder charge, it's not going to stick.
That's right.
So he's wasting their time. He's wasting the taxpayers' time. Now, if he went for vehicular manslaughter or involuntary manslaughter, then he can win that, because she just said in her statement that she looked down and she fell asleep.
Mm-hmm.
So that right there is negligent, because if you feel sleepy, what do? You go to the side of the road.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's just so much other stuff. Like, from my understanding, there should have been a breathalyzer test done on scene before she went anywhere. Where is her alcohol test? Where is her breathalyzer or anything that should have been done on scene? And then the sheriff tells us that somebody from the district attorney's office called him on scene, or called one of his deputies and said, do not arrest her, take her to the station. So fast forward to our meeting after the first no bill, we asked, who called you? Who told you? And then the sheriff couldn't even give us an answer. And so the district attorney said, nobody called you from my office. And if they called you, who is their name? So they're playing each other back and forth in front of us. And I guess they don't think we're going to know that's what they're doing, but we are very smart. And so we knew then, okay, so this right here is some kind of cover up or conspiracy. Karen Carpenter was actually able to get up and go to work the next morning.
Wow.
She went to work next morning in the vehicle that she hit A'miya and killed her in.
No, was that car? That car should have been impounded.
Absolutely, but it was not.
Wow,
It
that's
was not.
incredible. I'm writing down something here. I'm sorry.
That's okay. And so you asked me, what am I looking for a lawyer for? Because I think at this time, maybe we need to talk about some prosecutorial misconduct. We need to talk
Yes.
about some miscarriage of justice. But the problem that we're having is this. A lot of the attorneys who could actually help or anything, everybody is stuck on this. The district attorney cannot be sued. They cannot be held accountable. I'm here to tell you, yes, they can be. Anybody can be held unaccountable. This is one of those cases to where if I interfere, something that I've done may have, it will come up, or I might be harassed or something, and I'm finding that kind of, I'm finding it just nauseating, just to be honest with you.
I can tell.
Um,
I can tell you right now that there was prosecution misconduct because from what you're telling me, from my observation, is that the district attorney didn't take this to the grand jury the correct way because there is no interest. There is no interest in him doing this. I guarantee you, if the tables, and I don't need to lose the race card now, but if I guarantee you, if the tables were turned around, you'll be in jail,
mhm.
and there
Absolutely.
and there'll be a big sign saying, "Hang Braxton."
Hmm. Absolutely. Well, let's just talk about that for a minute. About 18 months later, there was a little boy who was getting on his school bus who happened to be a Caucasian little boy, and he was hit the same way. And the same district attorney, John Waddell and Sadie Gardner, was also over that district. Do you not know that that young man who hit that little boy is in prison right now? It's the
And,
same thing.
and what was that kid's name? You don't know?
His name was Mr. Dylan Thomas,
Dylan,
or Dalen Thomas. Yes.
A Dalian.
Dalen is Daylan Thomas.
Oh, Dalen Thomas. You're from the South. I'm from New York. You see, your accent's different.
That's okay. That's okay.
Dylan Thomas in Mississippi. That was the
Mhm.
kid that passed away, right?
Yes, he was hit. It was, and the ironic thing is, I don't want anyone who's listening to think that I'm making light of another child getting killed, because I would never do that. I actually reach out to the mother to give her comfort, to try to get her prepared for what was to come. Like, his birthday might be coming up, and it was around the holidays. I think it was maybe on Halloween or somewhere around Halloween. And then you had Thanksgiving and Christmas. So I wanted to reach out to her to let her know, you're going to be grieving. There's going to be an extra seat at Thanksgiving and Christmas. So I did try to reach out, but however, I was unsuccessful. But that's neither here nor there. And I want to make her aware I will be sharing the comparison of the story. So don't get mad, but I got to do it. But
Oh no,
anyway,
you have to do it because it's like now when people are saying white people get killed by cops too, but those are two peaches and those are two you can't compare those because I mean even though white people are get killed by cops too, but they're not being ostracized and looked at as blacks do when it's happening now. But it's good to compare because it's interesting that this young man, Dylan Thomas, did I say it right, Dylan?
yes, that's fine with me.
Okay, Dylan Thomas passed away in a car accident, and the person who caused this accident is in jail. And A'miya Braxton, it was the same thing, and she has passed, and her accuser, Miss Carrie Carpenter, is still driving. And it amazes me how she still drove the car the following day when that car is supposed to be put into evidence.
Hmm. They were saying that the difference would be, and I still don't understand how they can arrest the driver who killed Mr. Thomas. I cannot understand that. But this is what was the difference. Mr. Thomas had to cross the street to get to his bus. And the driver thought it was a tractor because it was nighttime. It was like the early morning is when we were in the daylight saving time. So it was still a little bit dark out. Okay, and so the driver went around because he thought it was a tractor, and he struck and he killed Mr. Thomas. A'miya was killed at 4:30 in the afternoon. There's no reason why you can't see this big.
Yellow
Okay, so
bus.
I don't. Yeah, I don't want to say that other word. I don't know if it's censored or not because I
I'm
can
not
get in
censored.
there.
Don't worry about these big ass yellow bus. Go ahead.
You know, this big ass yellow banana just standing there, just there with stuff flashing and everything. The only thing you can think of is negligent. That's the only thing. And so they were saying that the driver of that vehicle intended to pass. Well, Miss Karen Carpenter, when she didn't stop, regardless, she did not intend to stop. It's the same thing. It's just he's a little white boy and A'miya was a black princess.
Yes, and that's unfortunate. That's the world that we're living in today.
Absolutely.
You know, and especially in Mississippi. Like I said in my video before, if this happened somewhere in the north or it's happened somewhere in a bigger city, and then things would have already been different. But it's in Mississippi that it's small and just people just I'm gonna say white people just don't care. You know,
I mean,
but
and that's the only way you can look at it. They have showed me nothing but pure racism. Racism. And I'm not a person that goes around and do that.
See, my thing here is Mississippi a predominantly black state?
Yeah, it's a lot of us there, but I'm starting to think that maybe we're just outweighed. I think
Okay.
maybe we're outweighed or might be balanced out now with a lot of the immigrants that have migrated there.
All right, so okay, so let's put the immigrants aside.
Okay.
Is there any African Americans who are prosecutors, African Americans who are judges, African Americans who have a high rank position in Mississippi?
Um, there are a few, but I'm gonna tell you like this. Mississippi is one of these places, according to the Attorney General at the time, who was Jim Hood, who do things their own way. And things just don't work in Mississippi like they do everywhere else. Now, these is his words. He put it out there in a newspaper article responding back to us. Um, a lot of them are in power because they let them be in power. Okay, they let them. The African American community there, I had a lot of support from them. However, the ones who could have really made a difference, they were a no-show. People are scared. A lot of people told me that maybe I should just walk away from it. It was just an accident, or just walk away from it and just pray about it. And I just told them, I said, y'all cowards. I said, me and my family is not safe here, because if they ever come after us, you're not going to help me, because you won't even help me come to vigils. A'miya has had so many news conferences, and it didn't make national, except for one time it made national. And I think now we're breaking international. But the support there is because they are allowed to have that little power. They make no real decisions. And that's really what I feel about it. And then you have the African Americans who is so invested in the Caucasians that they rather follow their lead, even though they know it's not right, just to have peace and not be harassed.
That's unfortunate. You know, how can we move forward as a nation if we don't stick together? I mean, you can stick together for certain things, but for other things you can't stick together. That doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And the most powerful African American person that I have actually had a little help with and assistance with, I'm going to say, is Reverend Jesse Jackson.
That's it.
He's the most influential person who actually took time to listen to our case. He even helped me relocate because of the threats that we were getting, because people are saying, and I will say this because this is what was said. I was at work one day. I was working in an office in Mississippi. I sell insurance. I was at my office, and there was a customer that came in that knew my situation. And he said, you're going to have to get your family. And he said, you're going to have to go. And then I said, what are you talking about? And then he said, they're saying when you went to Chicago and they saw you on that TV talking to Reverend Jesse Jackson, that they're going to put a stop to that because that nigga is not welcome in their town, that they're going to run stuff the way they've been running and there ain't going to be no change. So I played it off for a couple of days. I really didn't worry about it. And then the girl that I was working with, the young lady I was working with, she came in one day and she said, I'm putting my notice in right now. She said, I'm leaving right now. And I asked her why. And she said, I was at the grocery store And she said people were thinking that I was you. I mean, she's a little bit bigger than me, but we're about the same height. Maybe she's just a little bit taller, but we kind of wear our hair the same way and everything. And people know we both work together. And she said that people were just murmuring at the store under their breath. She felt so uncomfortable. And she told me that she feared that being with me or being trying to work with me might put her safety in jeopardy. So she quit.
So these people in Mississippi are still thinking back from the 1950s,
The 1930s.
the 30s, even worse.
Yeah, they're stuck back in time. And I try to make. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I try not to make too much noise, pointing out a lot of stuff because my husband's family's still there, my family's still there. His mom, so I fight them, but I had to get away, and I had to be moved. And when I moved here, it's so different in Georgia, and everything is so much faster, and it costs more money. Well, my credit, everything is ruined. I lost my car. Our credit is bad. So right now we have to stay where we're staying at now. We have to pay almost $2,000 a month just for rent here. And we can't find anywhere else until like 6 more months until our credit clears up. So these decisions that Karen Michelle Carpenter made affected my life. It is still affecting us right now. We're so limited. And when you go to fill out an application for something, they're not understanding, and neither do they care that my daughter was taken and I was grieving for 3 years and I lost everything that I had. Nobody is saying that's okay. We're going to help you. They're saying, well, we're sorry, your credit scores. And so it's always constantly threw back up in our face that this woman made a rash decision that destroyed our life and affected my future. And not only did she affect my future, but she had a 10-year-old brother, and his birthday was October 3rd, and we had just had a party for him. She dies October the 4th. Her birthday is October the 12th. Her father's birthday is October the 31st. She affected my whole life.
The whole October's ruined.
Yes, it's ruined. And now we're coming back up on the anniversary. My 13-year-old now, he doesn't want anything for his birthday. He's not even concerned about his birthday because he automatically knows that the next day at 4:30 is when his sister got killed.
Wow. So you had to move all the way from Mississippi to move to Georgia because of the threats of the Mississippians.
Yes.
You were not safe in your own. That really is sad. I mean, that when you live in a society that you have to move because people are not conscious enough to find, if these people were to say to themselves, you know what, it was an accident, let her, me personally, I would say, let her grieve, let her speak out. She has the right to. Her child passed away. Whatever happens. It's not going to affect me. It's not going to affect my next door neighbor. It's not going to affect nobody. So let her speak. You have people who don't know how to mind their business, or doesn't know or doesn't appreciate how other people voice their opinion. So they always have something or some condescending thing to say. And when you get one person riled up, that starts a chain of command. And when you have, and I'm sorry to say this, when you were up in Mississippi and you have these little rednecks, because that's what they are, and they have no education. They have no education. For any little thing, they get rattled up. Oh yeah, he's got to go. We should shoot him. We should hang him because that's all they know how to do. They haven't been anywhere. They haven't gone anywhere outside of Mississippi for them to see what the world is really like. And when you're enclosed and you have the sheriff that's running everything is white, you have the district attorney who's running everything is white, you have the judge is white, the police officers are white. So what do they see? They see white, and when they see blacks or when they see Hispanics, all they see is, oh, these blacks can be here, these Puerto Ricans or Hispanics can be here. That's all they see. And once they see something in the news, they assume, oh, guilty. He's black because he's black, or guilty because he's Hispanic. They don't tend to look at, you know what, this lady did lose a child. This lady did lose this. And if common sense tells you, if she swerved from the street, is because she was doing something that she was not supposed to be doing. Because nobody's going to swerve unless either something comes in front of you, or you drop your phone, or you got burned and you swerve, or you texting something. So you did something, and for a district attorney to say that he had that, for a district attorney to say that they had no evidence that she texted or that she did something, and then I would have said, if I was the lawyer, I would say, then why did she swerve? She swerved for a reason. Whatever it is, she swerved for a reason. So right there, right there would have been the negligence, the negligent homicide right there. I wouldn't have charged her for murder because I know I'm not going to get that.
Mhm.
You know, but at least we charge her for that. But the thing is that they didn't want to, they didn't care because she's a young black African American and they don't care. Like you said, the other young kid did the same thing, but his accuser was arrested and is doing jail time, and it's sad.
Absolutely. It's absolutely sad. And there's so many other factors how I do believe that. And I'm not a person that just throw around black lives, white lives, all lives. I don't just throw that around because I feel like this, and I don't really know who all watching, and I don't know if you're a spiritual person or whatever, and neither does
Yeah.
not matter to me. But I know that when my Savior got on that cross, he died for every single person. It never
Amen.
said that it was a black person he died for, a white person, Puerto Rican. He died for mankind, and he came to bring us all to the kingdom. So they have a problem within themselves anyway. And it's a stigma because I remember when I was a young girl, my grandfather and my father and uncles worked for a rich white doctor. Okay. And they kept passing that job along, just like we were still on a damn plantation or something. I even tried to do it. But one day I came to myself and I said, this is not how this is supposed to be. No, people need to be working for me. And so I began to change my mind, but their mind is not changed. They will never look at us. And this right here is a misconception. We are all supposed to be free now, okay? But they will never look at us to be as good as them. They will always feel like they're superior. And anybody who feels like that they don't think they're superior, you better it even talks about in the scripture how they be acting and how they feel like how the Caucasian people act and stuff. I have a lot of Caucasian friends. I love them to death and they love me. Some of my best supporters have been the Caucasian race. So I'm not talking about all of them, but there are some of them who gives the rest of them a bad name, who put a bad taste in any other race's mind because they're always plotting and they're always trying to take stuff that don't belong to them. And they're always trying to make sure that nobody is on their intellectual level. And so that right there is what bothered me about what was going on. You looked at me like I was nobody. On the police report, and this right here was something that was so amazing to me. Well, on the death certificate, which I got A'miya's death certificate back like within 2 weeks. People really don't get death certificates back that fast.
All right.
On her death certificate, the coroner had pronounced that it was an accident. Okay, this right here is an ongoing investigation. How can you say this is an accident? It's only 2 weeks out. Who said this was an accident? You never looked at her as a victim from the beginning. You never had any plans on doing anything. We asked them if we could hire our own special prosecutor. They told us no, we have to use a district attorney.
No,
So
no.
this is right, and I absolutely knew that, but they told me that I couldn't. And
No.
then we asked for toxicology documents. We asked for documents. They won't give me any
They
paperwork.
have to. By law, they have to.
But they did not. I mean, they won't give us anything. When we call, we get no response. It's like, we got to keep this together. We got to keep all these documents here because you're going to find out something that we don't need you to know. But what they don't know is I'm already finding out stuff that you didn't want me to know. Just like Karen Carpenter already had a history of speeding, but the district attorney never looked at her driving history. He never pulled her driving record.
You know that I don't know if you're aware, but when they do a grand jury, and this is what surprises me the most is that grand juries are easy. Anyone can get indicted on a grand jury, and if he would have looked at her record for speeding, that right there, he could have put that against her, and she would have gotten indicted right there and then. Whether he knew is one thing, whether he used it is a whole different story because we weren't in the grand jury room.
We were asked, the sheriff did promise us that they was going to let us go in and testify and grieve our concerns to the grand jury. The district attorney would not allow us in there. He would not allow us in there. They played with even the sheriff department. My son said he heard the car coming before the car got there. But they wanted him to go and see a psychiatrist because they said that he probably wouldn't be able to relay it to the grand jury. And I'm thinking, you don't know him. You don't know that. There was also a bus full of children, a bus full of high schoolers. None of them was interviewed. So we asked them why not. And then they said, oh, because it was a chaotic scene. A chaotic scene. So I got kind of confused. And at the time, the assistant district attorney, who was Sadie Gardner, was running for judge. And so we had went out and we had got over 2,000 signatures. And I was trying to give her the signatures and plead with her, and she wouldn't listen to me. She was on her phone and she was a little aggravated because I was interrupting her conversation. So I said, Sadie, I said, since you won't listen to me now, you'll listen to me then, because I know that you are running for judge. So this is what I did. I stood in front of one of her signs at a local bank, and I took my cell phone and I told everybody why she should not be judge. And she did not win judge. So then they took it back to a grand jury the second time. And this right here was my feeling. Since I have done this and talked about you, you have no right. You're supposed to excuse yourself from this case now, because I basically told everybody who you was. And when Cindy Hyde Smith, the senator who was running, she made a joke about she would be at the front in the front line of a lynching. And my assistant district attorney was right there in the front page on camera, black and white, laughing. You're laughing about black people being hung in a lynching, and then you're going to go back and defend my black daughter.
You haven't put in a motion for the DA to recuse himself?
No, because they told me that I couldn't do that. They told me that I had to use a district attorney. They told me that it's up to them. And if they decide to do it, they will. And if they decide to do it, it can't be done. The district attorney is the only person who can handle this or change this. And I told them, that's baloney. That's bullshit. I know y'all lying to me, but I'm powerless.
Have you civil sued Ms. Carpenter?
So this right here was our thinking on Miss Karen Carpenter. At the time when all this stuff was happening, we looked at it like this. She made a bad mistake when she went around that bus and she killed my daughter. But if she would apologize, I'm going to just take what's rightfully, and that was her car insurance, and then let her go to jail and serve her time. That was the most peaceful way. That is how we felt like it should be handled. And so we decided to take the car insurance because, mind you, now this right here is 2 years after this happened. We haven't worked. We didn't have anything. I'm talking, when I tell you that crackers and bologna was a steak and potatoes, it was steak and potatoes many a night. You talking about $2 in gas, trying to go 30 miles, $3 in gas. We two with $3 in gas. And so the offer was the $25,000, which the attorney that we had that was handling that said, well, this is what the car insurance would do. So that's what we took. And so they said she didn't have any assets. And this right here was never to make her suffer beyond means, even though she made me suffer, and I'm suffering right now. The intention was never to be evil towards her. Give me what's due by law, and then you go on and you serve your time. So at this point, we can't do anything civilly against her. Only thing we can do is press for her to go to jail, and that's what we wanted in the beginning. We are not thirst good people. We don't want people to, that's not even the way to do things. But at this point in the game, 4 years later, I wish I just would have just took everything she had. You know, I mean, it's sad to say, but damn, I ain't got nothing. You get what I'm saying? So, I mean, that's what we had.
Wow.
But the district attorney, however, the state of Mississippi, however, can make up her difference.
Well, he hasn't made a difference. The only way that this makes a difference is that the people of Mississippi stand up and voice their and do a voice and they march because you're not going to get from what I'm reading here and from what you're telling me the district attorney is not interested in anything, and that's unfortunate. I mean,
It really
he took
is.
an oath. He took an oath to serve the people of Mississippi as a district attorney, and that's what he should be doing. And you can tell that he's, and I can say it, he's a racist guy. That's all he can. That's all
Yes.
he can do. You know, and it's unfortunate because no matter what happened, there was a young, precious little girl who passed away because of the neglect of one person. And you cannot tell me that she was not texting or she was not doing anything. She was doing something in order for her to swerve. So when you tell me, oh, you have to show intent, that's to show that is the intent. But when you have one person, it's like in Florida. Florida has a law that's called stand your ground. A few years ago, a black woman, she had an order of protection on her husband. So the husband came into the house. She took her shotgun. Just shut up in the air. Shut up in the air. They gave her 25 years. Same scenario in Florida. A white woman did the same thing, but she shot the man. They didn't do anything to her. So you see where it goes?
It does. It does. But I do believe that justice is coming. I refuse to believe anything else. We've been working so hard, and great people like you and many other people are reaching out now. A'miya is on TikTok. I didn't even know A'miya was on TikTok. They say, "Hey, Amaya's on TikTok. Everybody making videos." And Trey Son shared her post. Solange shared her post. Latoya Lockett, she shared the post. So more people are getting very, very, very interested in this case. But I just want to let the district attorney know that I'm not going nowhere.
No,
You'll go
yeah,
before me. You're going to go before me because I'm going to find that lawyer that will take them to the cleaners and make them. This right here is one of these things where careers need to be ended. I just happened to find out, which I got a phone call last week. There's another case in Mississippi where a pedestrian man was walking. He was a Caucasian man. He was walking. He was on the grass. A car hit him, killed him, and knocked him in the street, and then another car ran over him.
wow,
And do you not know, under John Weddle's leadership, there's not even a police report done right now? And it's
really?
been almost 2, 3 weeks. They finna have the funeral. There has not even been a police report. So he doesn't care about people who is beneath him, who's not an attorney, who's not rich and famous. He don't care anything about them.
So if you don't, so if you're not like what they said, the creme of la creme, or you're not elite, he just John Widow guy doesn't care.
Absolutely. He does not care about you. And the only reason why he won again as district attorney is because nobody ran against him, because they know that Miss Braxton and the 750,000 people who follow her, the 93,000 people who comment, and the 13,000 people who's on A'miya's Facebook page would have swung that vote to whoever he was running against. I did it to Sadie. I had no problem doing it, and she did not win. And so the only reason why he made this attorney again, because nobody ran against him. But had not known that you do not have a law degree to be a judge, I would have ran against Sadie and probably beat her myself. I
Yeah,
mean,
there's some
because
states that are like that.
yeah, so I mean, I didn't even know that, but now I do know. But he didn't have anybody to run against him. Neither did the sheriff.
That's something to think about for the next election. You should run for it.
I absolutely probably will, because I'm just tired. And again, like I said, all lives matter to me. Black Lives Matter is a wonderful, wonderful thing, because when you think about it, it is more of us that they're murdering than any other race in some places. So I totally get that. But at the end of the day, if somebody loses their father, if somebody loses their child, we need to have some justice. I mean, and there's a law put in place. The law was written by Miss Lori Mack Johnson, who came to my assistance, and she's Caucasian, who actually came down the next day after that happened, or the day following, came and saw me and made me aware of my victims' rights, who made me aware of Nathan's law. The sheriff wasn't even aware of Nathan's law. He didn't even
What?
know it.
Oh, come on. He's a sheriff?
He's a sheriff. So
Oh,
he
wow.
had to call her to
He's a really
find
good
out
sheriff.
information. And so when she told me, she said the reason why this was written is because my son Nathan was killed the same way. So she fought and got a law passed called Nathan's Law. And in Nathan's Law, you cannot pass a stop school bus. You do not need intent. And it is to be a sentence of 20 years. No matter how you look at it, the sentence was still the same. So it was designed to protect our children.
Yes,
And
I
then
know.
you don't do anything to somebody that violates that. So this is my question. How do you know Karen Carpenter, District Attorney John Weddle? Could it be that y'all live in the same town you heard in Sadie? Because all of them live in the same town. You are frozen, my friend.
Are you there?
Yes, you are frozen. Everything just
Oh,
stopped. But it's
man.
okay.
The
We're
internet
back.
went
We are
down. The internet died.
back. We are back. Hey, nothing's gonna stop me from telling the
That truth
story.
sucks.
I don't even worry about it. I just be like, okay, I don't worry about it. I'm used to the errors. As you see, I can just keep on flowing because I'm used to this. I love like talking about A'miya and talking about my purpose and my cause is what I do.
Now,
This is what I live for.
you know, we talk about these idiots because that's what they are. District Attorney Burns is an idiot. Carpenter's another idiot. The judge, whatever her his name. Tell me about A'miya. How was A'miya? Who was A'miya?
A'miya was one of those children, and I never will forget. I can almost tell you the day she was conceived. Okay.
Oh, wow.
I remember me and my husband had went to a vacation in Texas, and I remember I was sitting down at a table and I was drinking, and I was drinking pretty heavy. They gave me this big old blue rush, and ooh, it was good. And then I remember something speaking to me and said, "Don't drink anything else. You're with child. I promise you." And then I was like, well, hold up, wait a minute. You know how you ration. It was only one time. We pretty
Yeah.
careful, and no more children. We don't want any more. But so when I got back home, I found out that I was pregnant after vacation.
All
Um,
right.
and so I remember sitting in church because we were struggling for a name for her, and something told me to name her A'miya. And so I named her A'miya, and she had eczema real bad. She struggled with her skin, and she was struggling with her hair, and she kept me up hours and hours with the eczema thing and the hair thing for many years. And she grew out of it. And then she just started having this confidence about herself that was like Oh my God. She was one of my most confident children. She was a big sister and she was a helper and she was very clean, very mild mannered, but she would tell you that she was kind of strong headed too. I used to say, well, if you don't do this, you might get a spanking. And she said, Mama, well, you might just have to spank me because I ain't gonna be able to do that. And I never forget, I couldn't even discipline her because it was so funny because she just looked at me and told me, and I knew she didn't care because she was not gonna put them clothes in there because them were not her clothes. I never will forget that. She was like, them ain't mine, and stuff like that. So, and as we were moving out our old place, as what has happened, we found notes all over the house, and she was just telling us, "I love you, Mom. I love you, Dad. I love you, Matt." So she was just leaving us notes. And the particular morning that she went to school for the last day I ever saw her and talked to her, and believe me when I tell you, when I just think about it, that was the last time. That was the last time that I held her, and her hair was all over her head and we were struggling real bad, like I said. And I said, I'm gonna fix your hair when your daddy get home. I'm gonna go and get you some little bows and some rubber bands and stuff. And I said, just make this do for today. I said, I know your hair is all over the place. I'll never forget that. And she said, it's okay, Mama. She said, I know you're gonna do it this evening. And she got on the bus. And I got to tell her that I loved her, but while she was standing out there, she managed to write "I love you, Daddy" on his windshield, on his back glass. And he saw it a couple days later. He had actually stopped driving the car. He saw it a couple days later, and it was after the rain. And he said when he looked back there, he said it looked like somebody had just written it on there. And and for a whole year, that car set up after that. But she was my special, special, special person. She was going to be the one that maybe was going to change the world. I know she liked to draw. She was a helper at school. Her teachers loved her. She exemplified love. And the kids who wasn't popular and the ones that was bullied was the ones that she took under her wing and helped.
That's good.
So, yeah, so I absolutely love her. And I miss her every day.
I bet you do. I bet you do. I had my sister who she lost her son in 2009. So I mean, I don't know that feeling because I haven't lost any of my kids. But it's just a shame. It's a shame that we lose the ones we love at such a young age apparently for no reason at all. And like you said, all you seek is justice, and it's not being given to you, and that's even more. That even puts more pain into the wound that you already have.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And before we get off of here, I would like to most definitely, if you will allow me to tell you some of the new projects that I've been
Yes,
working on.
yes, go ahead. Platform is yours.
So, and my husband and myself have really grown through this process. We did not have the best relationship, and I wasn't the best stable person because of other stuff that I was going through in my life. But what we were actually able to do was we was actually able to write a book and release it this June, and it's titled "God Works on Tuesdays Too."
I love the title.
Yes, yes. And the reason why, because A'miya got killed on a Tuesday afternoon. And that was the worst day. Tuesdays for a long time was my worst day. But when I transitioned to Georgia and these doors has been opened, all of them was almost on a Tuesday. And so the writer of my book was like, why don't we name it God Works on Tuesdays Too? Well, I told you, if you remember, that I named A'miya in church because the Lord spoke to me and told me to name her A'miya. So after her passing, I researched what her name meant, and it meant forever young. That's what her name means. It means forever young. So that was going to be the title. However, God Works on Tuesdays Too was just a better fit due to the circumstances.
Right.
And so that's why we named it God Works on Tuesdays Too. Y'all, please check that out. It gives you a lot of good information about me, about my marriage, about how I was able to deal with the passing and no justice. It also gives you a way to offer your support in the very back of it. And the author is Miss Lori L. Story. I consulted it. I'm the subject, but she's the writer. And we created it together. Also, I'm proud to say in 2021, we will be releasing a couple of documentaries, and that's going to be a big film, hopefully coming end of 2021. So we're super excited about that. Her page is Justice for A'miya. And it's a big community, and there's a lot of information on her page. My page, A'miya Braxton, which you'll see a picture of her. And also there is a GoFundMe on there. We're just asking you to do whatever you need to do. I mean, just whatever the Lord put on your heart, because we do need the help. And I'm going to have to hire an attorney, and I will be hiring one. So if anybody
that's highly recommended.
Please let me know.
And if there's an attorney out there who wants to do pro bono work, amen.
I know I need your help. And then there's a petition on change.org, Justice for A'miya Braxton. And it has 750,000 signatures.
Okay, that's good.
So we're looking for that million. And then we're going to do a jump start one to petition the White House. We just want to wait till November before we do that. We want to wait till November before we do that. So there's a lot of great stuff coming. There's some stuff that I know that's coming that I haven't seen yet, but I will let you guys know. And I just thank you for the opportunity to share my story. And make sure you get your copy.
Thank you for giving me the time for telling A'miya's story. Yes. Send me all the links that you can through my messenger, so I can put it on both my Facebook, my Instagram, and on here. And the day that you decide to go back to Mississippi, let me know. If my wife and I can take a trip out there and hold your hand as far as solidarity, let me know. I will be there.
Well, thank you. Man, that's sweet. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Anything to help. So guys and girls, her book is on Amazon. God Works on Tuesdays too. It has it on Kindle, and it has it on hard copy. I prefer hard copy. You guys want to get Kindle? Get Kindle. So, and the GoFundMe page me, I will put that on my link on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Whatever information that Ms. Braxton gives me, I will hand it on to you. So let's just put, for those people who are watching in Mississippi, put pressure on the district attorney's office, put pressure on the judge, and let them know that this cannot be, this cannot go on. You cannot let why was she 7 years old?
She was 7 at the time. Yes, almost 8.
We cannot let the life of a 7-year-old go in vain, while other people who have passed away under the same circumstances because of the color of the skin have gone away with that. That's not fair. That shouldn't happen in today's society or in any society whatsoever, because that's not the way God made us. God created us equal. In His eyes, He was created equal. And I believe, and I'm going to finish with this, I believe that if justice is not done on earth, their justice will be done, because God says, don't worry about it. I will take care of justice.
Amen. I agree. Amen.
So if nothing is done, and you see yourself in heaven with A'miya, and they don't go to A'miya, and they don't go to heaven, that's their justice.
That's their justice. Amen. Amen.
And you know what we Blacks and Hispanics says, God don't like ugly.
Sure don't. He sure don't.
I want to thank you. Send me everything you can.
I will.
I appreciate your time. And if you need anything from us, just let us know, and we're here for you.
Well, thank you so much. It's been my pleasure. You are a dream. Thank you, Mr. King Gio.
Thank you.
Everybody like the channel. Subscribe.
God bless you.
God bless you too, and you enjoy your day, and I'll be sending that to you soon.
All right, you too.
Okay.